Hi everybody, Russ and My Hammers 11. Hope you're all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon so you're made aware every time we put new content on. Happy New Year to everyone. Hope all as well. I was going to say, don't forget our channel sponsors, Untuck It. Check them out in the description below. Christ, better not forget them. Anyway, hope everyone is safe and well. Today's guest is a regular on the West Ham Way. It's Geoff Wilkinson. Hi, Geoff. How are you, man?
Hi, Russ. Thanks for having me on, mate.
Absolute pleasure. How are you? How's things with you, buddy?
Yeah, no, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Obviously, just trying to keep my mind busy and occupied. So I appreciate doing this afternoon. Actually, it feels fun, doesn't it? So yeah, everything's good, mate. Obviously, enjoying. At least we've got some elite sport on the telly, and West Ham are doing all right for us. So it's keeping me going.
They are, innit? They are. It's like we just spoke before we started. You know, how do we cope with that sort of 100 days without no Premier League football? But it was different then, because before then we were shit. And so, you know, 100 days without us looking at the league table wasn't a bad thing. Whereas like now, it's like if we had 100 days, it would be typical, wouldn't it? Typical West Ham.
Back then, every weekend that passed where we didn't get beat was a reprieve. But now,
yeah,
I look forward to every game. Do you know what I mean? I'm even looking forward to this cup game and seeing a few of the other players getting a chance. And it's it's not a terrible time to be a West Ham fan at the moment, is it?
No, it ain't. And it's such a typical West Ham thing, because we always, every time we seem to get into a bit of a role, something happens, whether it's an international break or the season ends or something like that, and we come back and we're always shit for about 2 or 3 weeks until we sort of get back into it again. And you know, I mean, that's why I was quite glad that, you know, Boris decided that elite sport continues, because from a purely West Ham perspective than anything else, it means hopefully we can keep this run going while it lasts. Enjoy it while it lasts, isn't it, mate? To be honest.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely essential that elite sport keeps going. And you know, so if people are locked down in their houses and they can't socialise, they can't see their friends and family, if you turn the telly on and you've got something that can occupy you, then it's a godsend for mental health. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's
not forget the mental health battle at the moment. So I think it's time, and that's the first thing in the WhatsApp group with all the lads last night, as Boris was talking about the lockdown. Everyone was just going, right, but is football still going? And it just knows how many people have got their hopes pinned on that. So it's great news that it was still going ahead.
Well, it's a distraction, isn't it? It's a distraction away from things. And it's like not just the 90 minutes, but it's the lead up, it's the aftermath, it's the analysis of, you know, the West Ham ways and Amers Chat and West Ham Fan TV and Orange United, all them lot. And West Ham Unofficial, don't forget Jake's channel. And it's everything around it stems from football. It's like now we haven't got West Ham until this Stockport game. Really, we had that sort of that sprint of like 3 games in 6 days or something ridiculous, and now nothing. And then it's like, you know, you can see how the content has gone like down, because we haven't got nothing to talk about apart from, you know, rubbish transfer rumours and stuff. But you know, not having anything there, not having any football was just I don't think we realised. I think fortunately last time, the proper lockdown, it was sunny and hot, weren't it? So he was in the garden and paddling pools and stuff. Now it's like drip and drab and it's pissing it down and it's all grey. At least the football can keep us going. And we're all Spurs fans, not Spurs fans, we're all Brentford fans tonight, aren't we? So all supporting Brentford today. So, although at least we'll be going out afterwards, but it doesn't matter. So hopefully they'll do the job, and that will cheer up the whole nation, apart from a little small group in North London.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, mate. I totally agree. And at least throughout this lockdown, we'll have VAR to squabble about.
Exactly.
So it'll keep us occupied. So we're in a better spot than we were before. So that's good. It's good news. Really positive from that side of things.
Yeah, and also there's like, you know, unlike the first couple of lockdowns, we say, you've got that sort of. There is a sort of light at the end of the tunnel, isn't there? You see, you know, a relative light in front of the tunnel in terms of, you know, the vaccines and stuff. And, you know, I reckon Easter. That's what I reckon. I reckon Easter. And then that's a year, basically, pretty much. We've been locked down, to be fair, and to be honest. But I reckon Easter's when everything's going to be relatively normal. I don't think, obviously, no one will be back in the stadium until next season, that's for sure. At the very least, I think. But and I think that's what people miss. It's not necessarily the watching the football, because you could probably watch the game a lot better on the telly. It's
Sorry,
the it's all right. It's dog walks. It's fine.
Someone's knocking on the door and the dog's going wild.
It's fine. Don't be silly. Don't be silly, Geoff. But it's not necessarily the actual match itself, because I said you could probably watch a bit of you on your telly at the moment. But it's meeting all the lads, going for a pint, the camaraderie, and you can't really recreate that on a Zoom call, can you? Really? You can try. Yeah. But it's not the same.
Yeah, no, I've not done any of the Zoom watch-alongs. It's I like you say, I miss it so much going to the games. You know, I've had a season ticket for a long time, so I'm just looking forward to getting back to it. And in the meantime, I'll just sit at home and watch it on the telly and have a beer and try and enjoy it as best I can. I've got used to, I don't know if it's a good thing, but I've got used to the fact that there's no fans in the stadium, and I don't use the plastic crowd noise. I just watch it as it comes. If anything, it's a bit interesting because you hear things that you wouldn't normally hear and that sort of thing. So it's just one of them things at the moment. Like you say, the season is a write-off, I'd say, from a spectator's point of view. But hopefully we can get a full season next season. But
hopefully,
he's out in it. We'll see.
It's one of those things as well. I said I'm on the same with you. When I watch the away games, so I was at the home games, but the away games, and I listen to without no crowd noise for the exact same reason, because you just hear things you wouldn't normally hear. How the players interact, who's the shouters, who the marshals. You know, it's like Craig Dawson was marshalling for the last two games. You know what I mean? It's like fair play to the man. You know, that takes some balls. You know, someone who's just got in the team and shouting everyone about, who's played half a season already there, and the managers and the bench, and you hear a lot more, and you think, yeah, we've got a good team. We've got a good team spirit, and I think it's evident when you hear those things. And I like the way the club do a lot more of the behind the scenes, like after the games and stuff like that. Partly because we win, so that precipitates you have to have a more on there. But see how the camaraderie. That Everton game, and Moyes had his arm around Aaron Cresswell, and they're chatting, and Dex is. He's like, oh my God, that's massive. We've beaten these teams, and it's all good. I love it.
Yeah.
You just have this team. It's just this team spirit now. It's just a sense of. For a long time, I can't remember the last time we had like a real togetherness as a squad, like an obvious togetherness. Rather than, I think for a lot, many years we've had a team of 11 who, just 11 individuals who are just all wearing the same shirt. Whereas now we seem to have a team. Do you know what I mean? Like a togetherness.
Well, that's the theme of my Hammers 11 today is around leadership and guys that play for the badge and play for their teammates, and not necessarily just for themselves. Because there's lots of flair players that have come in and out, but it's those guys that have really picked us up and carried us when we've needed them, and that's what I've picked my team on for this show. And actually, off the back of that, the best player I've ever seen in a West Ham shirt isn't in my team, but we'll get to.
Yeah, he was a team player, was he, Jonathan Spector? He was a team player.
We
know him. We know Jonathan Spector. Those two guys from Man United. I actually was watching the 2010 season review yesterday, and Johnny Spector cracking goal against Everton, I think it was. It was like, oh my God. And then Freddie Picquion, God bless him, gets sent off for a second yellow card, celebrating the what was going to be the winner at Everton. Oh, just such a West Ham thing. But anyway, we'll talk about the 11 in a minute. About West Ham itself. The first question I usually ask people is the same one, really. Why are you a West Ham fan, Geoff? What's your story, man?
Well, it took me a little while to find the right path. So my granddad was a Mancunian, moved down here after the war, and subsequently my dad is an avid Man United supporter. So as a kid, I was in Man United everything. Do you know what I mean?
It makes sense.
Before I had a choice in the matter, it was wallpaper and bed sheets and replica shirts with gigs on the back. Although Lee Sharp actually was my first one. So that was it growing up. But I always had an interest in West Ham because my granddad on my mum's side is a West Ham supporter. And my best mate from when I was a really young kid, who's my best mate now, we go together. We're season ticket holders together now. He's a West Ham supporter, and all his family. So I always sort of had an eye on it, but I was never that interested in Man United or West Ham. I never went to a game. And then it was around about the turn of the millennium. So around that sort of time, my mate said to me, "Look, why don't you come to a game with us, like with his family?" And I went up there. So it's probably, must have been about 13, something like that. And I just never looked back, mate. I just loved it, just absolutely loved it. And it wasn't what team it was. It was just being there, being amongst it, and being part of something, and all the singing, and it was just fantastic. And I just never looked back. I wanted to go the next week and the next week, you know. And then it came to a game where we play Man United, and I'm thinking, do you know what I mean? So I had to have that conversation with my granddad and about it, and I just never looked back, mate. I just talked the bug, and I wanted to go every week. That was the big thing for me, and you can't do that being a Man United supporter. And I've been to Old Trafford now, but that's on away days with West Ham.
Yeah,
but I never went.
I suppose that's the thing as well. You know, with like everyone I've interviewed, 250 odd people, and everyone's not said. Everyone basically said, "Oh, I went the first time, and then I was hooked." No one said, "I went first time, it was all right." About a year later, I decided to do it again. No, everyone's hooked, and they want to go to the next game and the next game. And there's something about West Ham, and it might just be about every football club, and it's how people associate themselves. But it does seem from the inside out that West Ham fans are these sort of unique bunch of people, and they have this undying love for this team, which has won bugger all in the last 41 years. And it's just crazy how, I mean, you obviously you contributed quite a bit to the West Ham way stuff, and seeing all the different fans from different countries and sort of the commitment of some of these people. You know, they get up, people like Angus and stuff, 4:30 doing the bloody watch-alongs on the West Ham way and stuff like that. It's mental, considering on bugger all why this fan base has this incredible, commitment and passion for this weird little club in East London.
I think it's why you touched on it. That's why we feel that way, because we don't win a lot, and we over the years have get beat more times than we win it on a Saturday off. And it's such a high when we do win, and obviously this year's been a little bit different. I'm loving it, but we're not here supporting this team because we're winning loads of games. It's as you get when we do it, and we get those. We don't have a team full of 11 superstars, but you get that one that comes along, and it's magical when it happens. And I think that's why we're particularly passionate about it.
Yeah, it makes sense. And obviously, as you said, once you get that one little wizard, he then becomes, like this sort of like he's put on a pedestal. And we've always had a wizard, haven't we? Or a player. Or, we hope Benrahma might be our next wizard. Do you know what I mean? But and as long as that wizard doesn't upset the balance of the team, we're drawn to them. And you're right. It's like it's about and particularly this team now, as you said, it's like someone said to me the other day, would you like to be a Man City or Liverpool? And I don't think I would. I really don't, because I think that us not winning anything, or us winning something would be nice. A cup or something like that. But us winning, not all the time, means when we do win, as you said, it's so much sweeter. And there's something so West Ham, and I said it the other day, and it makes a really good point. When we beat Everton, it's like, great, we beat Everton, is it 10th, 26 points, brilliant. And then in the next breath, someone goes, 14 points to go. 14 points. Yeah. Not the fact we're 10th and we're pushing for Europe and we can have a good cup run. No, we need to get 14 more points for them. We're saying, it's always like that.
In the back of your mind, you're thinking we're massive, but in the back of your mind, you're going, I can't wait to get them 14 points. You know what I mean? There's always that in there, isn't there? We're never completely one way. So it's exciting, doesn't it? It's not always the best, but it's always interesting, isn't it?
There's always something going on, and that's why I think there's so many West Ham YouTube channels as well, because there's always something to talk about, whether it is the playing or what I do, obviously the nostalgia bit, or what's going on and transfers, and I feel sorry for, like, I don't know, the Southampton YouTube channel. What do they talk about? You know what I mean? It's like they've got like a manager that's doing all right, they've got a team that's doing, they've got a setup system. What do they talk about? What can they talk about apart from how good I don't know how good Danny Ings is? That's all we can talk about. There's nothing exciting. There's always something going on, someone having a row about something, or someone being sold behind someone's back, or or history stuff with Redknapp and Bonds. There's always something. There's always a story somewhere, and no, I love it. I think it's. Someone said to me the other day, would you? What was it? So if Scarlett Johansson came in and said, "Right, Russ, one night with me, but you can't support West Ham ever again," I'd be like, no, sorry, because that'll only last 30 seconds. Whereas, West Ham's a lifetime, isn't it, really?
And it's like, Russ.
I know.
Over 30 seconds, eh?
Well, lockdown. But no, but you know what I mean. It's so true though, because I just think it's a way of life. It's not about being, you wouldn't see people, move. We had like glory hunters, and like there were Man United, then there were Chelsea, now they're Liverpool. You wouldn't get that with West Ham. Once you're in, you're in, and it's a way of life. And I adore it. I adore it. It's frustrating as hell sometimes, but it's a hell of a ride, isn't it? You don't know what's going to happen. You open the pages to, like the weekend, you go, okay, Lanzini's decided he wanted to have a Christmas party. Nothing surprises me at West Ham now. Nothing surprises me.
It's like, did you used to watch Dream Team on Sky One?
Yeah.
It's like that without the murders, ain't it?
Yeah, it is until they find the bodies. But they put the Upton Park's already filled up now, so you can't see that now. No, you're joking. But no, I think it's fun. I love it. I just think, and you get a special group of people. We get a special group of fans. They're hardened because they haven't won anything in 41 years. Typical West Ham. They probably win the cup this year, and then there'll be no fans at Wembley. Not gonna happen. It's just such a West Ham thing for it to happen. But
we'll see how we go. I'd love to see a cup run, but ultimately for me, it's about the league and just keep pushing on. And I'm conscious that we've got a threadbare squad depth wise, so cup would be great, but it's all about the performance at the moment and then pushing up the table. I think for us to consolidate as a top half team like that, and beyond. But at the moment, that's where we need to be, and we're crying out for it as a fan base to be one of the bigger sides. I hate being this relegation fodder team, and being in the same discussions as those other teams, which I feel that we're bigger than. So that's the priority for me.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's got to be incremental improvements each year, baby steps. We tried this massive step change. We went with Pellegrini and spent all this money, and it doesn't work. And it's like, you look at other teams that did it, bar Man City, but they had the money to keep going. They keep money to plug. When you look at someone like Blackburn, so when what's name came in, he spent all that money, they won the league, and now they're floundering in the Championship because they've got you need to build it up. And it seems that Moyes he knows that that needs to happen. So he wants to build. He said he wants to build the academy. He wants to build recruitment, setups and things like that. And then you can start investing because look at someone like Brentford. Brentford's their thing's fantastic. Their recruitment. Obviously the people I think we should be looking at are people like Leicester. You look at Leicester. Leicester's where we should be. We should be that in terms of infrastructure and stuff. And they haven't spent hundreds of millions of pounds on players. They spend it well. They've got good setup, and if Brendan Rodgers goes, Chelsea nick him, wherever, when Fat Frank gets sacked, then they'll get another manager in, and it will carry on. There's like a progression there, and and we see that now with Moyes. I definitely see this sort of project being built now. It's exciting time to be a West Ham fan. I think it really is.
Yeah, I think so. There's a real togetherness at the club.
Yeah,
that I believe is down to Moyes. Probably not down to the board. I think that is down to Moyes, and you can see that the players are playing for him. His staff respect him and look up to him, and they look at him for guidance. They don't, when he was working from home for them 2 weeks, Irvine spoke about him in the interviews. He just showed the respect that's there, and when Dex Strawdy ran straight over to him.
Exactly.
You can see that it's really together. He's the boss. They know he's the boss, and they're playing for him. And I think it's great. I haven't seen that at our club I don't think I've ever seen it. No, actually, I've never seen it. And he's making all the right noises, isn't he, about the recruitment and about the foundation. He strikes me as a doer, someone who he will actually crack on with what he's saying. So his in-game stuff sometimes and his substitutions, and his weird starting 11s and formations at times are frustrating. But for the most part, I don't think I'd swap him at all for the moment, really. For what he's doing. You know?
Exactly. He's what we need. He is what we need for the time being. And you said that and what I like about the staff he's brought in and Moisey is they're all football men. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know them. Do you know what I mean? It's like when you've got the last time I reckon was probably the Allardyce years, because you knew who the backroom staff were really by name, and they were all ex-professionals or they'd been in the game for a while. Apart from obviously with Slav, obviously you know Julian, but you couldn't know the names of anyone else. So one of them's now a Dortmund manager, isn't it? Isn't he the assistant? Whereas now, you know, with Moyes' backroom staff, it's Nolan, it's Stuart Pearce, it's Alan Irvine, it's, you know, it's Phelan. These guys are guys who have been in the game and know football inside out. And it's just really nice to see. And as you said, you're totally right. When Dix scored, first person he hugs was Moyes. They seem to respect him. He seems to has he's got that old school mentality about him as being a bit of a, you know, you wouldn't want to underperform at half time and go into the dressing room with him and Piercy and Kevin Nolan. And I'll be scared shitless of them. So
I know it didn't work out for him, but I can see why Alex Ferguson wanted Moyes as successor for exactly what you just pointed out there. I think he probably turned out to be probably tactically not quite there for getting the best out of the group of players that he had. But you can see the qualities in him, why Ferguson rated him so highly.
Of course. And I think he's people forget about obviously the Man United and Sunderland and Real Sociedad. And, you know, at Everton, he was there for 10 years, you know, and he got them from a relatively relegation, very similar to us, a relegation team, up to, you know, Champions League qualifiers and things like that. And he says he wants to build another Everton, and I can see that. I can see there's that definite want in there, and it's probably gonna be it probably will be his last appointment as a full-time Premier League manager probably. So hopefully get a few years, and and I think Man United, I think he was never going to succeed. It was too big a job for him, and obviously the squad was aging. Ferguson got out at the right time. It's like Wenger. Wenger got out of Arsenal at the right time as well, didn't he? Just as the squad was getting all shit and needed major investment. So yeah, it's a bit of gamesmanship, but yeah, no, I think it's great. Right, anyway, let's talk about your 11, Geoff. Let's talk about your Hammers 11. So as I said, everyone we've had on the channel, we've given their 11. So the idea is you can pick whatever criteria. We sort of mentioned it briefly already, what criteria you're going to be using, but we can go over that again. But the only rule is you have to be alive to have seen them play. Otherwise, we'd have all put Bobby Moore in our team, but none of us saw Bobby Moore, apart from some very lucky people. So it's, you know, that's not really our era. So why should we have to put that in, for example? So do you want to just go over your 11 again, just in case people have just skipped it and just gone to the 11? Because that's what happens. So some people do that, I'll be honest.
I don't listen to us waffle for 20 minutes.
Yeah, some people just like skip. They wait to see the names come up on the page. Some people say, "Oh, can we have the old one when we have the team sheet on the left?" No, because I know people literally skip. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fair enough. So so as we touched on earlier, my 11 to make it into this team, you have to have leadership qualities where you pull you can put the team on your back and carry it when the chips are down. No individuals, people playing for the badge. That is the criteria to get into this team. So
nice. Okay. Let's start in goal then, mate. Who's in goal for this team then?
So in goal, I've gone for the most reliable goalkeeper I've seen play for West Ham in my era of watching, and that is Robert Greene.
Oh, sorry, Roberto. Sorry, Robert Greene. Sorry, Robert Greene. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's just solid, wasn't he? He's solid, reliable. I can't remember seeing him make too many mistakes. I think he had a balanced skill set. He's a good shot stopper. His distribution was all right. He commanded his box well. He didn't flap about at set pieces. I just thought, all told, he was a decent keeper. Not the best keeper I've ever seen, but at West Ham, he was the most reliable. The only person that's come close is Fab. In fact, it was there was a couple of positions where, like everyone, I would have had a bit of a a toss up as to who to put in, and it was close with him and Fab, but I decided to punt for Rob Greene here.
Yeah, and as you said, he was. I mean, we've had obviously loads of ex-players on the channel, and lots of goalkeepers for some reason. We have loads of goalkeepers. I don't know what it is, but and we had Jimmy on, and Jimmy was talking about when he's coaching kids, and obviously he's at Ipswich goalkeeper coach at the moment, Ipswich Town, and he gets them all to watch like videos of Robert Greene because he was the ultimate professional. Not the best goalkeeper. He said Roy Carroll was the best goalkeeper he ever worked with, but Rob Greene, just such a hard worker, and yeah, just like and he's always a bit different. You know, that's what they always said. You know, when you talk about all the players who played with Greeno, he was a different character to them, and even more so as a goalkeeper, he'd watch, he'd read the newspapers and read the Financial Times on the team bus and stuff like that. And I did enjoy his haircut, his Sheamus from WWE haircut when the first lockdown. It's a lot more sensible now. Now he's doing Sky Sports, but yeah, that was quite fun. He's good. He's a good lad.
It's been now he's taken up more of a pundit role. It's been quite nice seeing him on the telly and getting a bit more of his personality. I mean, he was although my 11 is a lot about leadership. He was one of the quieter guys. You did. Then there was no drama, was there? There was no thrill, and that's leading by example. He always did his job, didn't complain. But yeah, it's nice to see him on Sky Sports now with his dodgy suits and trainer combos. And a bit of personality. I've quite enjoyed that. So
yeah, he is. He's quite funny, isn't it? And he's got a very dry sense of humour. No, he's top man. Right, okay. Who's next? Who's next, then, Geoff?
Still in right back, shall we?
Sure, go for it, man.
So the right back I've gone for, and crucially, this is the right back version of Repka, and not the centre back completely crazy version. He was one of my sort of earliest memories, really, of a player that I just loved watching play, and that Repka, because he was no nonsense. You could see that he put the fear of God into the opposition. After as well, when he came in and was playing centre back, and obviously with the sendings off and his disciplinary problems, I just thought, like, although when you're a kid it's mildly amusing, you're thinking, what's this guy doing? Like, we don't need this. And then transitioning to right back, he's just a different player. And yeah, I thought he could get up and down quite well for such a big guy. Do you know what I mean? Because where I used to sit behind the goal, see his runs, and it used to make me laugh. He would like be going like this, like up and down the line. But I thought he's a good player, and he was no nonsense, which is what I wanted out of my back line that I've picked today.
Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the right back version of Thomas Repka and the centre back are two very different characters, considering they're in essence the same person. No, and actually, I think Repka became more of a West Ham hero having finished his career, because obviously then he got jailed, didn't he? And all the stories that come out. And he's still scary. He's still a scary man. I'm trying to get him on on the show. And even when he texts me, I still get nervous. He's in like Czech Republic, and I'm on my phone. He still scares me just by a text. It might be a thumbs up, but it's probably an aggressive thumbs up. Thomas
the things that he's been banged up for, and the stuff he had been booked for and banned for over the years, all crazy things. Not like like an overzealous tackle. You're talking butting someone, or there's always a little bit of an extreme with him, but when he kept those bits out of his game, he at right back, he was solid, and I thought he done a really good job for us.
He did, yeah. I mean, he was our record signing from Fiorentina, wasn't he, at the time as well? And I think also, and that's why I'd like to talk to him about it, because I think also that was the first time, I really believe that's the first time that he was properly loved as a player. Do you know what I mean? Because like that last game, when we the whole crowd was super Tom, and he was crying and getting emotional. I reckon that's the first time a crowd had done that to him. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it'd be interesting. One day, he's promised me one day. Christ, that'd be a good. That'll be a funny one. Won't it be a funny one? Won't it? Right, I'll put Tommy Repka in. Who's next, man?
Centre back. First one I've gone for is Rio Ferdinand.
Yep.
I just thought just an absolute Rolls Royce of a player, and again such leadership qualities to come in and play regular football at 19 as a centre half at that level, and get hammered a year at 19 years old. It just goes to show that he's a cut above, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I thought he had. Not only did he have a bit of everything, but he excelled at everything. Whether that's just balls coming into the box and him in the air, or he was so elegant with the ball at his feet as well. His decision making was top notch, and obviously it's a testament, really, the career he went on to have. So it's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah. And you're right. When you think of it in that respect, and I think it's different now. For example, someone like Deck, for example. I mean, he's young when he started, but you think back then to be a 19-year-old and have that impact. Yeah. Then nowadays it's sort of like not expected, but kids are starting from 17, 18, in terms of breaking into the first team. Whereas there, a 19-year-old breaking into the first team and making such an impact, so much so he won the Ham of the Year, is mental, really, when you think of it now.
Especially in that position, there's playing at centre half. There's so much responsibility on you, and it's not like you're part of a midfield three. And if you have an off day, you might have a Declan Rice next to you that can pick you up. You're playing centre half. There's such a responsibility on your shoulders, and he just took to it like a duck to water, didn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Right, we'll put Rolls Royce in. Who's next, man?
Well, I've been saying Winston Reid the whole time, but I've made a last ditch change, and it's going to
transfer.
It's going to be Ogbonna. It's got everything's telling me. Oh, my heart was telling me Reid, but my head's telling me Ogbonna.
Well, so far you'd have picked a team of beginning with R's. You'd have had Robert Greene, Tom Repka, Rio, and you could have had Reid, but no, Ogbonna. Oh well.
What it comes down to is the influence that he has on our team. I mean, if he's in it, we win, and if he's out of it, we could easily lose. He's so important to us now. Everyone looks to him. The confidence that he gives all the players around him, from the goalkeeper to Deck in front of him. I just think you got to have him in, and that's taking nothing away from Reid, because it was tight, and the big goals Reid scored were fantastic. But Ogbonna scored equal amounts of big goals for us. Obviously not the famous one against Man United, but I think a back post header against Liverpool, I believe. Ogbonna was a highlight.
Yep.
He's got to be in there.
And I think with Ogbonna, I think it's funny because you look at now, and Diop can't get a look in. Ogbonna's been the consistent one over the last few seasons. There was a time where he was injured, and it was Diop and Balbuena, but pretty soon, as soon as Ogbonna was fit, he was back in the squad. He was back in the starting lineup because he was that important. Whereas now you see Diop and Balbuena, when they both were injured, they were almost interchangeable. It's a bit even now with Dawson and Balbuena, but obviously Ogbonna is that consistent player amongst that back, whether it's two or three they're playing at centre backs. And as you said, the last three seasons particularly, he's been playing out of his skin, so much so obviously he got back into the Italian side. Obviously he got injured, he couldn't play, but fair play to the boy. He's done fantastic for us, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's getting better with age. He's got a couple more years probably playing at this elite level that he seems to have found. So I think it's happy days for us, and it's brilliant for him as well. Like you say, getting the recognition again, getting put in the international team for Italy, it's brilliant. So it was a no-brainer for me in the end.
Yeah, definitely. Right, okay. Angelo's in. Who is next? Left back, maybe?
So I'm having to go back as far as my brain and your rules will allow for this one, and we're sticking with the theme of the right back. We're going to go Julian Dix.
Yeah.
I as a kid, even before I was fully converted to I used to love watching him play those bullet penalties. His defensive awareness was great, but he'd go forward and get goals, wouldn't he? And be an attacking threat as well. He much like Repko, he put the fear of God into opposition. I think the team was stronger with him in it. And he's gone on to be an absolute Hammers legend. So there was no other choice for me than Julian Dix.
Sure. Yeah. He's just an inspirational player, wasn't he? Really, both on the pitch and the team, but the crowd as well. He's just like he was a conductor from left back. It was incredible, absolutely incredible player. He was. No, I loved him. Loved Julian. Right. Okay. There's your back four. There's your goalkeeper. Who's next? Who's next, then, Geoff?
Well, sticking with the leadership qualities that I've been looking for, this is the captain of the team for me, and it is Declan Rice as a defensive midfielder, not as a centre back, as Big Fat Frank keeps going on about. He is a defensive midfielder, and that's how it needs to be. Again, like the same way I spoke about Rio. He is a Rolls Royce of a player. He does everything well. He does all the simple stuff, but he does it to a high level. And he's got a fantastic career ahead of him, and I just hope that it's with us. I think if he drops into that Chelsea side as a centre half, it's not going to do him any favours, and I hope that he knows that. And he's being advised, regardless of whatever money is thrown his way, because he needs to stay as a midfielder for me.
Yeah, I think with him as well. I think he knows. I mean, I think. Do you remember like? I think it was one game. Was it the Everton game in the cup where Moyes put him at centre back and he was dreadful? Yeah. And it was almost like to prove that he's not. He was. I mean, obviously he was a centre back all the way through his youth team career and on the 23s, and they moved him into central midfield. It's funny. We was talking to Mark Phillips, who's the under-18 coach. He's been there for like 14 years at West Ham, and a similar thing happened with Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson was a central midfield player, and basically they said to him, "Look, you go right back." He's like, "I don't want to go right back." Well, okay, if you go right back, you will be Premier League right back. If you go centre midfield, you'll be probably playing Ryman League. It's just because the quality. And that's the same with Dick. I mean, funny nowadays you can get a decent. I mean, they got Thiago Silva, didn't they, on a free transfer as a centre back, and you can buy centre backs. But Declan Rice's position is so unusual, and he somehow has such an influence. Him and Souček together, arguably, I think he's the best, one of the best midfield pairings in the league. I really do. On their game, they're awesome.
Don't let the secret out though. We don't want anyone thinking it.
I know. It's like when the worst thing is it's fantasy football league, isn't it? And Thomas Souček, it's like he was like the one under he was the good one. If you're a West Ham fan, you put Souček in your fantasy team, you've done all right this season. So
I think for both of them, particularly for Deck, it's his engine, and be wasted at centre half. His engine to get box to box. He's really this year he's added that he didn't have so much before, but he's added that box to box now. You see him with surging runs, like genuine pace, and sort of jumping in on attacks. So I think that engine needs to be utilised, and the position he's playing now, you get the most out of him.
Yeah, and what I like about him as well is and someone was talking about this the other day. If you watch him walk around the pitch, right, he walks around the pitch like he's a teenager. Honestly, he walks around around like this, and then as soon as the game's like on, he's off. But he walks around like he doesn't look like a football player, and he walks about. He hasn't got that stance. Some football players have this sort of gravitas when they walk onto the pitch. He strolls on, but then as soon as the whistle's gone, or as soon as there's a 50-50 challenge for a ball, or there's him going on this sort of like commanding run, he's just switched back on. It's such a funny. It's just so funny, Now someone mentioned it, I can't stop watching Declan Rice just walking around the pitch now, and he does. His shoulders like slump forward. He's like Kevin, the teenager, and then as soon as the ball, he's like, right, I'm going to be a football player now.
He's not been. To me, it doesn't look like he's been media trained or
totally
been told, because they know. I think because he's clearly a good lad. Say to him, just be yourself, do what you need to do. And I think he's just got his heart on his sleeve all the time, and fantastic player for us. I just desperately hope that we can keep hold of him.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, totally. And I think you're right. There's a sense of inevitability, isn't it, about him, eventually moving. But the longer we can keep him, obviously, the better for us, isn't it? And the higher his price will rise as well, because he's playing more and more games. And what I like about Deck as well is, when Nobes wasn't in the team, the guy was 21 or whatever, 22. There was no sort of no qualms about him being the captain. Everyone knew he was going to be the captain. And he's 22, he's not like, he's young. He's really young, but he's the captain of our club when Mark Noble's not on the pitch. But he still has that respect. And I know some people criticize him, but I love the fact that he gives Mark the armband when he comes on the pitch, because it just shows, it does show respect to the man that is Mark Noble.
And rightly so. And his time will come. Potentially next season. I mean, I could see Noble, if he does stay for another year, I could see him passing the armband, because clearly Rice is going to play every minute and Noble's not going to play too many, so it would make sense. But we'll have to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, definitely. Right, okay, Dex in. Who's next, Jeff?
The second man in midfield is Scott Parker.
Scotty P.
Just a leader. You can see the way he is as a manager at Fulham. The way he speaks. He's a good leader. He leads by example. And the biggest thing for me was the influence that he had on his teammates. I actually thought after a year playing with Parker, I thought Noble was a different player. And after Parker left, Noble was doing a lot of the things that Parker used to do. That Noble would never have done before. And I'm talking about the way he picked the ball up, but he'd take his time, he'd have a look, he'd be out of turn and create a bit of space for himself. And I thought he added that to his game. And that was the way Scott Parker played. So I thought the influence he had on his teammates was brilliant. And I also felt, well, we all know he played in a struggling side. And he was like playing Champions League level ability football in a relegation battle. Yeah. If the other players had played anywhere near to the level that Scotty Parker was playing, we wouldn't have any problems at all. But yeah, a hugely influential player, and it's he's got a big part in the side.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think also the effects Scott Parker had on West Ham, you're seeing that now with Declan Rice, because then. Yeah, Mark Noble was the understudy, and Mark Noble was learning off Scott Parker, and then now Deck was the understudy to Mark Noble, and was like, it's like a circle of life type thing. And how they've all passed down the Parker pirouettes. That's something I quite like. The fact that they all, obviously Parker did it, Noble did it, and Deck started to do it as well now. So it's like a rite of passage when you can start doing a Parker pirouette. But yeah, when people talk about commitment, until people talk about work rate, I mean, I used to see Parker literally crawl out of the player's entrance Upton Park into his car. He'd put so much into a team, and as you said, he didn't have a great team. He kept him on his back for 3 years basically. But yeah, no, he was a phenomenal player for us, and winning Hammer of the Year 3 years in a row, winning the Football Writers Player of the Year. The season went down as well. I wouldn't mind seeing him as a manager with us one day.
Yeah, I can see that happening. And it was obviously a shame that he left us for Spurs, but you can't. I didn't hold anything against him at that point.
Me neither.
Is all, and we unfortunately weren't in a position. I mean, he had international aspirations still at that point. So who could blame him? I went to Watford away that season, and he popped up with a goal in the Champions League.
That was his last game, wasn't he? If he went to Spurs.
We all knew it hadn't been confirmed, but I was at that game at Watford, and he popped up with a lovely goal, and I said to my mate, I said, that's the last we'll see of him, and it was. But fair play to him. He deserved whatever move he wanted, whether that be Spurs or whatever else.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. Right, we'll put Scott in. Let me write that note. Who is next?
So at the sort of in a number 10 is Kev Nolan.
Yeah, let me find Kev. There he is. Yep.
I think forget Bolton. He's a West Ham man. When you look back over Nolan's career, it used to be that Bolton player Kev Nolan. Well, no, I think he's that West Ham man. He's got that real nous about him, and he'd pop up in dangerous positions. He'd get goals, he'd get assists. He brought the best out of his teammates around him. Again, I thought he brought the best out of Noble again. And he got a tune out of Andy Carroll that no one has ever got before or since. And I just thought a hugely influential player again, a leader, which is why he's in this team.
I mean, he's his captainship was second to none. Really, I think he was one of the best captains, a club captain I think we've ever had at West Ham. In my time at West Ham, my fame career at West Ham, he was unbelievable. And there was a lot of skepticism when he came in, obviously, because he was Big Sam's boy. But he was what we needed. We needed that sort of link between the management and the players, and he was like in the middle of that Venn diagram, and he was brilliant. As you said, he'd pop up for a goal. He was great for us in the Championship. When we went up in the Premier League, he'd score. I thought he was great. I thought he was a great captain. A great captain. And when we interview players who were around during that time, they say probably one of the best captains they've ever worked with, because he would like sort everything out. And again, the influence of him on how Mark's become a captain. He was, Mark's, when you sort of watch his interviews, he always texts people when they join the club and gives them his WhatsApp numbers. That's what Kev was doing when players came in. So his influence on Mark as well is apparent as well. And obviously coming back and being a coach, and I just think I think he's a great bloke. He seems a lovely fella as well. You'd love to go for a pint with him. You know what I mean? He's like one of those players you could easily go for a pint with afterwards, and he'd tell you some stories. That's for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I'm really glad that he's still at the club and on the coaching team, and long may that continue.
Definitely. All right, Mr. Nolan's in. Who is next?
So part of a front three, Paolo Di Canio.
Yep.
It was a toss-up between him and the best player that any of us have ever seen play for us. But this was a leadership 11. This was someone who played for the badge, who done the business for us. So he's got to be in there. I mean, his goal contributions were incredible. The spectacular stuff was great to watch. The passion, and there was loyalty there as well. He really put his name on the map playing for West Ham after being a little bit in the abyss. We sort of gave him that chance, and he was genuinely grateful, I think, for that chance. And I think I heard stories of Sir Alex at Man United come sort of sniffing around him in sort of 2002, and he didn't take the chance because he was grateful to us for giving him the opportunities, and he felt he sort of had a little debt to pay off there. So I don't know the ins and outs of that, but that's sort of what I remember happening back then. So I think he's the ultimate legend for us, really, isn't he? Really, in the last 20 years.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think I think with Paolo, we saved his career, as because he was floundering a little bit at Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, rather. He'd had a few good games, and him and Carbone were good, but he was on the scrap heap, really. Having pushed over that referee, no one wanted to touch him. Harry took a punt, and the rest was history, and he became a Premier League legend. And in the same breath as you'd say Zola or people like that. Do you know what I mean? That wouldn't have happened if he was still at Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday rather. And he knows that. I'm pretty sure he knows that. And that's why he has this. But there's this weird sort of him and West Ham. There's this weird sort of. It happens a few players where the team or the club and the player just work, and that was one where it just worked. West Ham and Paolo Di Canio, he just worked. But he was a fantastic player. I used to, you'd go and pay your season ticket just to see him. He was entertaining, wasn't he? It was when football was fun, in my opinion. When football was fun, that was the last era, I think, when it was a fun game to watch rather than a technical or not professional. That's no disrespect, but more of an elite sport now. When it was fun, you'd have him and John Moncur and Bish and Neil Ruddock and Ian Wright, and these guys are just like characters on and off the pitch. And that was the last generation, I think, of that sort of era. And
I think before the media came into it with the media. Now you need to carry yourself, and then camera smartphones come in where you can't do anything. So I think that was, like you said, that was the last generation before the big brotherness came into it all.
Yeah, totally. You wouldn't get away with half the things they got away with as players, that's for sure. Right, okay, so we'll put Paolo in PDC. Who is next, man?
On the other side of the front three is one close to my heart. That's Carlos Tevez. He gave me probably the most memorable season in my fandom of the club. He just, for me, and it's just an absolute legend. Particularly as he took a while to get going after that initial coming in. I was absolutely buzzing. And bearing in mind, we still didn't know loads about, because he was coming over from South America, so he'd not sort of done it, in La Liga or anything like that. But you knew he was big time. And then he played, and you thought, what's going on here? And half a season, you're willing him on, and he's trying really hard, and then he just exploded with that free kick, didn't it? And he put us on his back, and he dragged us out of that relegation battle on the final day. And that's one of my most fondest memories supporting West Ham was that season and that game in particular. So for that reason, there's no way that I'd pick a team without him in it.
And you're right. I mean, he, to be perfectly, neutral about it, he didn't. It was like, half a season he probably turned up for us, wasn't it? Really properly. But he was just a phenomenon. That half season was phenomenal, and I just think he was, for someone who hadn't played that many games for us, the amount of influence he's had on, as you said, he's picked in your 11, but he only played 20 I don't know how many games he played, but it wasn't like a ton of games. But it was more about him when he came back, and he brought back the cross slammers. Really, no one. I mean, did it in the 70s and 80s, but no one did that until he didn't get playing for Man United. And there was the Argentine international game where he came on, and everyone was just mental, absolutely mental. He was a phenomenal player. It was one of those first ones that I remember watching, going, "How is he playing for us?" Do you know what I mean? He's like an internet. He's like a proper player. He's like one on the front of a Panini sticker book. That's how good he was. And he was great, wasn't he, Carlos? He was just Carlitos. He was just, and it was the mystique as well. How he just sort of turned up on this. We didn't know nothing about it, and just next day, we've signed this, these two Argentina internationals. It's like, when did that happen? It was just mental.
I stood there with them looking confused.
He just looked like he'd won like a lottery, to be honest. Pardew did, and the other two, bless them, they looked like they just literally had been pushed out of a dark van. They're like squinting like they've been kidnapped. But especially when they make him go to bloody Chadderwee to the training sessions and stuff rather than. But the whole thing about it, the whole mystique was bizarre around that. But West Ham,
we couldn't keep him for another season, but I think there was a lot of politics and money and lots of elements probably out of the control of our club and the player that determined a lot of his career. To be honest, it is. I mean, I couldn't pretend to understand it to this day exactly what all that was about. But either way, I've got the fondest of memories that I'll always cherish, and I've got the DVD upstairs somewhere, The Greatest Escape. It's just a fantastic watch, ain't it? That when they brought on Ronaldo at the end there as well to try and I think they brought on Ronaldo and possibly Paul Scholes, who they hadn't in this game, and I just thought, what are you doing? Like, come on, we're nearly over the line.
Yeah, they just hated West Ham so much because of it. We fucked up his league, didn't we? In when the McCloskey, they hate West Ham, but no, it's true. We had Dan's written a whole book around that called the Dan Hurley, The Greatest Escape, and it's all about that season. It's just coming out, I think, in the end of this month. It's a good book to check out. So there we go. Just putting a plug in there, but it's all about that season because everyone remembers that game, but they forget what a crazy season that season was. There's lots of really weird things that happened in that season. Quite funny, but no, it's good, man. What was I going to say? So if you put Carlitos in, who is the last piece of this pie? Then?
The striker is Dean Ashton. I bet you've heard that a lot.
It's kind. I mean, Dino.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it? I mean, if you're looking back, sort of from my sort of age group, he's the best out-and-out striker in our Premier League as well. Not just not doing like hitting big goals in the Championship, but playing Premier League, playing a consistently high level. He just absolutely had it all, didn't he? He could run. He had surprising pace for a fairly chunky player. But he could hold the ball up. He's strong in the air. He had good vision. He could play on his own. And he just had it all. And his finishing's second to none. And I thought, if he hadn't got the injury, he would have gone all the way to the top for me.
Oh yeah.
A long international career, and Champions League and whatever else. I mean, the sky was the limit. Really, you could see the quality. A friendly, but one of my memories of him was against Roma in a pre-season game.
Was that when they all came? Was it Roma or was it Napoli? There was one where it all kicked off. It might be Napoli. Anyway, carry on.
It was a pre-season game against Roma. I believe we was wearing the old white shirt with the XL shorts, and he picked the ball up not far past the halfway line. No one anywhere near him. He's out wide, and just the pace, just skinned the defender, cut inside, buried it, and I just thought, where did that come from? For a big lad, there was pace, skill, the finish, and it's criminal that he never went on to have the career that he deserved. Really,
just a West Ham thing, isn't it? Just so West Ham. We get this guy and he breaks the England squad. We're all happy for him, and then he gets hobbled by the smallest player I think ever to play for England or something ridiculous like that. It's just so West Ham, isn't it? And you're right. He was the ideal striker. He was a complete striker. He was the most complete striker I think I've ever seen at the club. Yeah. He could play. He had pace. He was strong enough to hold it up. He had a turn. He had enough pace to get past the defender. He could header. He could shoot. He had a clever brain. And then Sean White Phillips nubbles him.
And then he comes back for Mark Noble's testimonial and gets that absolute. Yeah. I was right in front of me where I was sat, and it was the ability was just so natural. He didn't try, did he? It just came naturally, and like you said, I think he's the best all-round striker I've ever seen at the club.
Without a doubt, he was just a phenomenal player. I thought he was great and a nice bloke. And again, another one who's gone into sort of the punditry, and I think he's a really honest pundit as well. I think he's a really, really good pundit as well. So no, it's all good, man. And that's the 11. That's the 11. We've done it, man. That's been good. See, I told you, it's always an hour. Literally always an hour. It's ridiculous. It's not like an hour and 40 like Dennis did. But I wasn't really looking forward to an hour and 40 of Dennis, bless him. But no, it's really, really good, man. Geoff, it's been lovely chatting to you. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks really much for your time.
I really enjoyed it, and I appreciate you having me on. It's been nice to reminisce about a few of my heroes from the last. Well, I mean, realistically, the last 20 years. Because try to pick players that I have clear memories of enjoying their work and reminiscing about some of the guys like Tevez and Repka has been brilliant.
Of course, no, exactly, and that's all the West Ham way and all the other. They do all the topical stuff. I do nostalgia. That's my thing, and it's good to look back and look and actually when. Not now, because I think times are well at the moment. But when times are a bit tougher at West Ham, you think actually, we've had some good times, we've had some fun times, and it's a circle of life. It comes around again, doesn't it? And so, that sort of glory years of the Redknapp era, the Intertoto Cup, and all those sort of things in 5th and 8th. Could come again. Maybe not Intertoto Cup, but that was a good night actually, Mets. But hopefully a bit of Europa stuff will be nice, and we'll see what happens with the boys. But no, I really appreciate your time, Geoff, and obviously I appreciate everyone for listening or watching, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, whatever it is. Give it a like, give it a share. From myself and from Geoff, take care, everyone. Stay safe, wash those hands, come on your wines, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Much love. Come on your wines. See you later, guys.